Hello! Welcome back to, or if this is your first time, thanks for being here today for an anti-siphon live stream. We are a training organization, so we are brought to you by Anti-Siphon Training, where we train people how to do stuff. But we do these live streams totally for free, and we teach people things. And the reason why is because we like to teach people things, and we don't want you to just have to come to a class to learn something. And so, hi. My name is Jason Blanchard. We have Kip Boyle with us today, who's going to teach us something. We got Ryan in the background, who just kind of lurks.
I hit buttons. There. That's my job.
And he hits buttons. All right. So thanks for joining us today. Kip's going to talk about how to tailor your resume to get noticed. It's something I've advocated for years. Kip has just run with it, and it's really cool. Kip also wrote this book called Fire Doesn't Innovate. We can talk about it towards the end. But we'll drop a link in there for Amazon. Yes, Kitty, you can come and join too. I know I haven't been home at all today. If you're wondering, where's all the stuff in the background, if you've watched before for like the last 2 years, I have sat at this spot for 2 years during the pandemic and did my job. And today I got a co-working space. And so I took all my stuff to the co-working space when all my coworkers are like, that's a lot of toys and crap. I was like, I know, right? It's great. But so we got Kip with us today and my cat. His name is West. And then we got Ryan. And so Kip, why don't you just go ahead and launch right into what we're going to talk about. And then we'll have Q&A at the end. And if people have questions, I'll stop you.
All right.
I definitely want to thank you for joining us. So.
Well, I'm grateful to be here. This is a wonderful opportunity to share some information that I've been sharing quite a bit already. This is the kind of information I've been sharing in a podcast that I do with Jason Dion, and I've also been sharing it at Way West, and then Deadwood this year. I'm going to be there and sharing this kind of information. So I just love the idea of doing it here now on the live stream. And what I'd like to share with everybody is, first of all, I have a vision for you, and then I want to teach you how I believe you can go about making that vision come true. So what I want for you is, when you're ready to get your next job, whatever that is, I spend a lot of time looking at cybersecurity jobs and information security jobs. So that's kind of where my head is. But I want you to be irresistible. I want hiring managers to read your resume and then ultimately interview you and just see you as completely like, I got to have this guy on my team. I got to have this gal on my team. I got to have this person on my team. My team will not be everything I want it to be without this person. That's what I want for you. And I would love for you to have multiple competing offers from more than one hiring manager that thinks you're irresistible. So this is what I want for you. And really, you should want this for yourself. I'm pretty sure you do. Now, okay, Kip, that's a great vision. Now, how do I become irresistible? That's a great question. There's really three steps that I want to cover with you today. I mean, there's a lot to it, but there's three particular steps I want to talk to you about today. Well, the first step is you got to find the right job. You can't overreach for a job because you're not setting yourself up for success. And I'm going to talk more about what I mean by that and how you can avoid overreaching and how you can know that it's the right job for you. The second thing is you got to get your resume into the hands of a hiring manager. And that typically means you've got to get it through the Applicant Tracking System, also called ATS. There's a lot of applicant tracking systems in the world. From what I can see, there's no dominant single ATS. So the idea that you're going to hack that system, it doesn't really pencil for me right now, like technically hack it, right? I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the third step is that you have to get your resume into the hands of the hiring manager, and you still have to make a compelling case that you should be added to their team, or at the very least that they're going to want to interview you. All right. And so if you can do these three things, then I think you've got a great shot at being irresistible. Jason, I got a question for you. Are you still there?
Yep, I'm here. Shoot.
So Jason, what's the primary purpose of a resume?
It's a series of facts about you so that someone can go like, oh, this person has skills and abilities that align to the job that I'm currently looking to fill the position.
Yeah. And then, so to me, the number one thing that I want a resume to do is get me an interview.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think about it, right? The resume can do a lot of different things, but if it's not getting me interviews, then I would say the resume is not doing its job.
Right.
So that's what I want to focus on today and that's how you can know if your resume is making you irresistible, is it's getting you interviews, right? That's my
Right.
primary metric for that. Okay, so here's what I want to do is I want to go through a couple of examples of looking at a job description, a real job description that I pulled off the interwebs, and then I want to show you a real resume that's been anonymized. So the content on it is real, but the name and the personal information and some of the other details have been altered, but the guts of it are real. So, and I'm gonna go through two of these for you because in the first case, the person I think is definitely picking a job that they can reasonably expect to get. In the second case, that's not true, and I want to show you what to do about that. So, how do you pick a job that you know that you can apply for? Well, we have to get the job title first of all right? If you don't know the job title of the job that you want, then it's going to make the rest of this really difficult because ultimately you've got to pull up an actual job description. And I know job titles are kind of all over the place, but you need to figure out what is that job title. And if there are other job titles that are substantially similar, that's fine. You know, you can have like a list of 2 or 3 or 4 highly similar job titles. That's okay, as long as the essence of the job is the same. And then you want to go get a job post that matches this job that you want. And you need to make sure that it's at the size of the company that you want to work for, it's in the industry that you want to work in, and that if there are any geographic concerns, that you've got those sorted out too. So if you want a fully remote position, make sure that that's what they're hiring for. If you prefer to be in a building with your teammates, make sure that's what they're advertising for. And if you have any problems trying to figure out, like, well, what industry do I want to work in, and what size company, and does it matter? That's a completely different conversation, which I'd be glad to have with you, but I'm not going to cover that right now. But I'm just going to tell you, like, you really need to know that. And why is that important? Because big companies do screening differently than medium-sized companies and small-sized companies, and so the more tuned you can be about that, the better. Okay, how do you write a resume? Let me talk to you about that because I'm going to show you 2 real resumes that are written in a way that I very much like, approve of, promote. I'm happy to share my resume template with you. I'll give you my email address later on if you don't already have it, and you can just send me a message and say, please give me your template. If you like it, I'll be happy to give it to you. What you want to do is you want to write your resume like a news article. And if you've ever studied news article writing in school, you know that the headline is the first thing that anybody reads. The purpose of a headline is to get you to read the first paragraph of the news story. And if you think about this, you've seen this all the time. You look at a headline, then you decide whether to read that story. You read the first paragraph, and then you decide, what am I going to stop reading now because I know everything I need to know, or am I going to keep reading? That's what a newspaper article is. And the more you read, the more details you're going to learn, but there really aren't any new facts down at the bottom of the article. It's just, or I should say, there's no new talking points. It's just more facts about what you learned in the first paragraph. And so as a hiring manager, I want you to know this is my perspective that I'm coming to you from, which is to say I've been reading resumes for years. I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've hired dozens of them. I've built teams. And so what I'm trying to do is get you into the mind of the hiring manager. There's so many opinions out there about resumes and how to do resumes. Some of it's good, some of it's not. I'm just going to tell you what I think works from a hiring manager's point of view. If you're not getting resume advice from a hiring manager, I just want you to be careful about that. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to focus on keywords and transferable skills as you do this analysis. And I'm going to show you the example, but I want to tell you what we're going to do before we do it. You're going to start with this resume based on some kind of a template, and the resume needs to be targeted at this position that you want. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the base resume and then we're going to modify it to get in the right keywords, to make sure that the correct skills are present in the resume. And what that's going to do is it's going to get you through applicant tracking, probably. There's never a guarantee of getting through applicant tracking. If you can connect with a hiring manager and get them to take your resume into their hands, that's the best way to get around the applicant tracking system, but that's not always possible. Now, Jason teaches some fantastic lessons about how to find and get the attention of the hiring manager over social media. And I would tell you, you definitely have to watch his videos. You definitely need to learn what he teaches you. But I'm going to focus on getting the resume through the applicant tracking system. So we're going to look for high frequency words. We're going to look for and isolate also words and phrases that describe the essence of the job. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a moment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take those keywords and those phrases, and we're going to pull them out of the job description, and we're going to put them right in the resume. Now, I got to tell you, plagiarism is your friend here. You are going to shamelessly, unapologetically steal keywords and phrases out of the job post, and you're going to put it in your resume for that employer. All right. I'm not going to tell you that if you customize a resume for one job description, that it's automatically going to work for other job descriptions, because I generally think that's not going to happen. All right. So let's see if I can do the screen sharing magic, and let's do the first job position resume pair. All right. Seems to be working. Okay. So here's the first situation here. So on the left, I've got the job posting, and this is a real job posting that I pulled down about 3 or 4 months ago. It's for a cybersecurity analyst working in Costco IT, and it's full-time. It's mid to senior level, and if you don't already know it, Costco is this giant retailer. They have thousands of employees. And I think you can see that I got this off of LinkedIn Jobs. I really believe LinkedIn Jobs is a great place for you to be looking for jobs and for applying for jobs. And it's, of course, a great place to try to connect with hiring managers. And again, I cannot recommend Jason's teachings on this too strongly. He's really great at it. And I've got the first 2 pages of the job description here. It actually went on for like 5 pages. Okay, so here it is about the job. Let's just start reading this, and let's see if we can find the keywords and the essence of the job. All right. This is an environment unlike any in the high-tech world, and the secret of Costco's success is its culture. Right away, I gotta highlight this. The secret is the culture. Let me pull down my tools here. And where's my highlighting tool? Where did it go? I think it's up here in the menu, actually. Annotate, highlight text. There we go. All right. This is crucial. When you see a company that's emphasizing its culture, you need to pay attention to that. Amazon is renowned for this. All right. So, and if I keep reading this, this job description, if I go to the Costco website, if I go to Glassdoor, if I go to all these places and I do all the research, if I read their annual report, this is a theme that's going to recur. So this is a big deal. So if I go over here to the resume, let's look at the resume for a second, because I've already found something that I want to make sure is in the resume. So let's look at this resume here. So this is for fictitious Leo Gray. This is in the resume format that I recommend. Notice that it has the contact information here in the upper right-hand corner. It's got a summary statement right at the top. The summary statement is sort of the opening paragraph to a news story. As a hiring manager, I'm going to read this paragraph, and one of 2 things is going to happen. It's either going to hook me, and I'm not going to be able to stop reading, or at some point I'm going to see something that doesn't work for me. I'm going to go off the hook, and I'm going to move on to the next resume. All right, that's kind of how it works. Hiring managers have to screen dozens or hundreds of resumes. They cannot sit and consume every resume, down to the bottom line. It just doesn't work that way. So Leo is saying, I'm a cybersecurity analyst with experience applying information security principles, technical information security concepts to real world problems. Already, I love Leo. This is a wonderful opening sentence. And look at this. So this is a cybersecurity analyst role, and he's already telling me right off the bat, hey, Kip, I'm a cybersecurity analyst and I have experience. Right away, I like Leo, so I would keep reading. But what Leo needs to do is he needs to get this culture aspect in here, right? So he says down here, I'm looking for an exciting opportunity in a great company to contribute to my team and grow my security skills for many years to come. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. I'm going to say in a company with a strong culture. You see what I've done there? So I've tuned the resume. I'm telling the hiring manager, I get it. Culture is really important to you. I want to work at a company just like that. All right. This is a huge flag. And people who don't put this kind of stuff in there don't make as strong of an impression. All right. Let's keep reading the job post and see if there's anything else in here. Employees and members come first. Generosity, community service, philanthropy, volunteerism. Look at all this. There's all this charitable orientation here. If that's something that appeals to you, you should put that in here, right? So you would say, I want to work at a company with a strong culture that gives back to its community, right? You see how this works? Let's go back to the job post. Here we go. The role of every cybersecurity infrastructure team member is to support the values, business goals, Okay, let's keep going. Okay. So, and it kind of chopped it off a little bit here. Sorry about that, but there's still plenty of material to work with. The analyst should have in-depth working experience and knowledge of network security methodologies and tools. And it starts listing off those tools. All right, well, let's go back to the resume for a moment. You'll notice that the next section of the resume talks about top skills. And whatever you put in here and you say, these are my top skills, they really better be your top skills. As a hiring manager, what I'm going to do, if you say, for example, vulnerability management is a top skill of mine, well, I'm going to go down into your experience and I'm going to look at the jobs that you've had and I'm going to ask myself, did Leo gain vulnerability management as a top skill by working, in that area? And that's how I'm going to kind of do a sniff test to find out if if you're really good at that. This is one of the things that I'm going to screen for. So these technologies that are in the job description, right? Security monitoring, intrusion detection and prevention, firewall, sandbox, and DDoS mitigation. To the extent that those are your top skills, they should appear here in this section and use exactly the words the way they're in the job description. So, for example, it says intrusion detection and prevention. It doesn't say IDS, it doesn't say IDP, it doesn't say IPS or anything like that. Do not waver from this keyword here, this little phrase. Use it exactly the way that it's in the job description. This is where I was talking about the need to plagiarize and to just lift things straight out and drop them into your resume. All right. So I hope you can see that this is a situation where Leo well positioned to compete for this job in terms of the skills and relevant experience. Even though Leo's coming from a background of QA testing engineer and SEO specialist, this is not too big of a leap for Leo. The rule of thumb that I share with people is if you can meet about 50% of the requirements for a job that you really want, you should go ahead and apply. I'm not saying that you're going to get it, but I've seen a lot of people struggle with this, and I've heard them, say, "Well, gosh, I don't meet everything that this job position is looking for, so I didn't apply." And I go, "Oh no, this is not the specs for the latest video game," and if you don't have, a video card that's powerful enough, you can't play the game. And so you can't buy that game because you're missing a video card, even though you've got all the RAM, you've got all the CPU. That's not what this is all about. All right. Hiring managers are going to take the best person available at the time that they need to add to their team. That's generally what they do. Some hiring managers will choose to not hire if they can't find somebody that meets their requirements, but others will hire the best available. And the best available might be somebody who meets 50% of the requirements, and that hiring manager might be willing to train that person to close that gap. So, okay, so that's Leo, and that's this first resume job combination. Now let's talk about this one here. So this fictional person is Sarah Williamson. So if we look at Sarah's background, vascular sonographer, right? This is somebody who has come out of the healthcare industry. This is somebody who worked with patients. This is somebody who studied human anatomy and biology. And so now Sarah's saying, I'm done with that. I'm not dealing with patients anymore. I don't want to talk to doctors. They're pushy and bossy, whatever. I want to pivot. I want to go into cybersecurity. So when I met Sarah, and again, fake name, but there's a real person behind this resume that I was working with. All right. So when I met Sarah, that's what she was saying to me, is like, I want to cross over. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, oh, I want to be a pen tester. And I'm like, okay, lots of people want to be pen testers. Why do you think you can become a pen tester coming straight off the floor at a medical center? And she said, I don't know. It's just what I want to do. And I said, all right, I'll tell you what. I think you can do it, because as I look in your job history, I see a lot of very technical skills, right? So you've got a mind for technical things and following processes and understanding systems. And so I think you've got the aptitude for this. Unfortunately, you don't have the experience and you don't have the skills yet. So Sarah, what do you think about doing a two-step job transition? And she naturally said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, why don't you find a job that's in between the job you have now and the job you want, and use that as a place to build the skills that you need to get that pen tester job. Because I really don't want to see you go back to the IT help desk, or you've never been to the IT help desk. But when I say back, what I mean is, Sarah's been working as a vascular sonographer since 2005. Sarah had a really good compensation level. Sarah had a mortgage and children. And the idea of going to a help desk position and working her way up in IT just financially was a non-starter. So I said, what do you think about IT auditor? And she said, I have no idea what an IT auditor is. And I said, well, I think IT auditor is within your grasp. And so you could do that job for a couple of years, maybe. And if you choose carefully, you could actually become an IT auditor at an organization that also has a pen test team in-house. And your goal would be to join that organization, work as an IT auditor for a while, and then maybe do an internal transfer to the pen test team. And there's a whole strategy around that. But anyway, and so I said, so let's focus on this IT auditor job posting, and let's see how we can make this line up for you. And so we did. So we went in here and, okay, our mission is to make healthcare right. We're reading about the job, we're reading about the organization. This is Bright Health in Bloomington, Minnesota. And so, they have a mission, they have company values, be brave, be brilliant, be accountable, so on and so forth. And so right away, just like with Costco, right? Costco said, culture. Well, that's what this organization is saying too. They're not using the culture word, but really this is what they're talking about, right? So Sarah starts out, I'm an aspiring IT auditor. Now, I've seen plenty of people say, oh, you should never say aspiring in a resume. I disagree. In the opening paragraph, this is the paragraph where you're trying to hook me. You're trying to tell me what it is you want. And I think it's okay to tell me, hey, I want to be an IT auditor. And now right away, I know that you're not an IT auditor because you said you're aspiring. But that's okay. I'm going to keep reading. With a background providing outstanding patient care and support. Holy moly. I love this. Not an IT auditor, but knows what it means to support patients. Well, isn't that what we're talking about over here, right? This is healthcare so people can live healthy, brighter lives, right? So medical experience brings an analytical approach to troubleshooting, determine root cause analysis, offering solutions, translating technical data. I love this, these opening sentences here. She's got me hooked. Lifelong learner, quick to implement and adopt new technologies, and is a sponge for new information. I love this. That's such a visceral image, isn't it? Like a sponge, just can't you just see it in your mind, just like sopping up water, just like her brain sops up information. And that makes sense to me because Sarah was a vascular sonographer, and things change in that field, in the medical field in general. Things change all the time, new technologies, new understandings. And so I love that that Sarah's an infinite learner, and I work well with people at all levels of an organization. So the first thing I need to do with Sarah is I need to tailor her resume here. So let's see what we can pull out. Optimized clinical outcomes. I really like that as a keyword. Can we work that in here somewhere? Yeah, I think so. I think if we look, this is I bring an analytical approach to troubleshooting, determining root cause analysis. How about this? Translating technical data and optimized clinical outcomes. Boom. Now the applicant tracking system, which is like a private Google search engine for this organization that's just filled with resumes, probably millions of them. When the internal recruiter is trying to find candidates to offer to the hiring manager, and Sarah's resume has optimized clinical outcomes and other keywords that we're going to find and we're going to put in her resume, that's going to help her resume stand out. And that's going to help Sarah begin to look irresistible. I hope this makes sense. I hope you're connecting the dots here. And you can see that it takes a little bit of time to do this, right? I'm having to, bring these documents up side by side. I'm having to spend some time, really reading this job description and then really making smart edits to the resume. And some of you may be thinking, what a giant pain in the ass this is. I couldn't imagine doing this. Well, you really need to do this unless you have a different style of getting through the ATS that works for you. If you're not getting interviews, if you're not getting through ATS, if you're not getting that feeling that people think you're irresistible, maybe you should try this technique. I think it would work for you. Okay, so let's go into the role responsibilities and see if I got some key phrases. Standards, plans, preparing detailed plans, performing projects, identification of key risks and controls, perform or assist SOX compliance activities, projects, assessments, fraud, audit, due diligence, acquisition reviews. Fascinating. Audit work papers. Have you noticed that the word audit just keeps coming up over and over and over again? So we would want to work the word audit into this resume for sure. Okay, so let's see what top skills. Compliance. Perfect. Okay, 16 is maintaining the security and privacy of patient records, only accessing patient records as it relates to direct patient care. I wonder how we could work the keyword of audit in here. Maintaining and auditing the security and privacy of patient records. I think Sarah could make the case that as she was accessing patient records, she was paying attention to who had access to these records, and that she would notice if somebody who was not authorized to have access to patient records was in fact accessing patient records. If that's a story she can tell, then this would be a great place to drop this keyword. All right, let's go back to the job description. Due diligence, risks, issues. Yeah, so look at the word risk is coming up over and over and over again. Key risks here, risk assessment. So can we, well, look at that, risk manager. Perfect. So Sarah already has risk as a key term in here. And, I'm running out of time for the amount of time we have today. So I can't continue to do this modification here. This is where I'm going to stop. But I hope this makes sense, this process that I'm talking about and how you do this. So I'm going to hit the pause button here. Actually, I'm going to tell you one more thing before I do that, which is transferable skills. So Sarah knows a lot about HIPAA. And guess what? Sarah chose an organization, Bright Health, which does have HIPAA responsibilities. And so even though this talks about Sarbanes-Oxley a lot, if you look down here at the bottom, HIPAA security. And so she definitely wants to make sure that HIPAA is in her resume as many times as possible, right? So we could put it right here. Only accessing patient records as it relates to direct patient care, as required by HIPAA. By the way, make sure you spell these terms right. As a hiring manager, that frustrates me when there's a really important key term and you spell it wrong. that makes me wonder about your attention to detail. Okay, so if I was a hiring manager at Bright Health and I saw this resume, I would be seriously considering bringing Sarah in for an interview. And as I said, that's really the purpose of a resume. That's its primary purpose. Jason, you still with me? Should we go to Q&A?
Yeah, let's do Q&A. So first of all, thank you, Kip. I know that you have a class coming up with anti-siphon. It's one of the reasons that we do this. We want to introduce our instructors to people because if you've never met someone before, like chances are you don't want to take that class. So this is, and it's one of the reasons that so many people take John Strand's class because they're like, oh, it's John Strand. So Kip is like John, but you just haven't met him yet. So
Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, we're here for Q&A. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask them. Kip, I have some questions for you.
Go for it.
What is the hardest part to do in a resume?
As a resume writer?
Yes.
Is that right? Writer. The hardest part? I think the hardest part is your mental model of what a resume is. Most people seem to think that a resume is this exhaustive biography that has to contain everything they've ever done and every skill they've ever acquired. I still see people who give me resumes that have Novell NetWare on it. No, unless I'm running Novell NetWare right now, and that's required for the job. Like, you shouldn't put that on there. So I think that's the hardest thing is for people to understand. How does a hiring manager really use a resume, and how can you write it so that it makes their job easier and so that they can see you as somebody that is irresistible? I mean, I don't know if you were expecting me to give you that answer, Jason. Maybe you were thinking about, like some technical aspect of writing the resume, and there sure are some things that I know people struggle technically. Like, if you look at the version or the resume that I shared on the screen, it's in a very specific order, but there's so much conversation that we can have, and I know people have, about what order you should put things in. So, I mean, that's an issue. And I think people sometimes look to the wrong places for inspiration. Like if you saw a really cool looking resume that somebody is using to get a marketing job, and you think it looks super, super cool, so you're going to use it to try to get a cybersecurity analyst job. Right. I think that's a big mistake, because you're not putting yourself in the context that the resume is going to be used in.
All right, so the questions are coming in pretty fast here. So Ryan's going to probably bring them up full screen on the screen. Victoria says, how did you find your passion? And how did your passion in job recruiting find you? There it is. How did your passion in job recruiting find you?
Okay. Well, so I started out as I started out doing information security, IT security, computer security, whatever it was called back then, when I was in the Air Force, and I came on active duty as a lieutenant. So as a lieutenant in the Air Force, I'm expected to provide leadership to people in my squadron or in my flight. And so I knew going into the Air Force that I was going to be managing people, trying to lead people. And so just, naturally, as a consequence of that, I had to learn how to build teams. Now, when you're in the military, you don't generally get to choose who's on your team. Team members get requisitioned for you, and they just sort of show up. But in the private sector, I could actually choose my own team members most of the time. And so, that's when I started getting really interested in this whole hiring process, and trying to figure out, how do I assess these resumes, and how do I decide who's going to come in and actually spend time with me during an interview. And I started building teams quite a long time ago. And so I've just had a lot of years of doing it, and I enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. And I could talk for a long time about why, but I hope that answers the question.
Cool. How do we get the resume template? That's been a question a few times here.
Okay, so you get the resume template by sending me an email. And I'm going to put the email in the chat, and then you can just drop me a message. I will read it, and I will reply with the template.
So what I love is that someone, you right now, potentially, you're watching the recording of this, and you're going to send that message. But it's been 6 months since we talked about it. And so it's just the world we live in now. I'm getting ready to do a contest for something, and I'm realizing that someone might discover this a year and a half from now. And so I'm like, oh, crap, I need to, how do I? And I found a deck. So I was researching things, and I got a pack of trading cards from 1992. And on the back of it says, if you send this, you will get this. And I was like, huh. It's like an address and everything. So I think I'm gonna reach out.
So you collect comic books, don't you, Jason?
100%, yes.
Yeah, I collected comic books too. I don't anymore, but when I was a kid, I did. And recently, I took a whole bunch of them out and I sent them off to get graded. And as I was looking at them again, I saw like all these advertisements in the comic books, right, where I could like cut out the coupon and send it in with 35 cents to get a whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of just now.
Yeah. All right. What's the best way to reach out to recruiters and companies? Do you guys check LinkedIn email?
Some do and some don't. I mean, here's the thing. Hiring managers are people too, right? They may seem scary and weird, but they're people. And so everybody's got their favorite place that they like to hang out. Some hiring managers aren't on social media at all. Some of them are on LinkedIn. Some of them are on Twitter. A lot of them are on Twitter. Some are on Discord. So what you have to figure out is, who is it you're trying to reach, and then where do they hang out? And that seems like a lot of work. And it can be, but again, I'm going to recommend Jason's videos, because I think he's done a wonderful job of explaining just how to get it, find a hiring manager and get their attention in a respectful way.
Yeah. The main thing is, like Kip said, they're humans. They're just people, and we have this belief internally that if we reach out to that person, like all of a sudden we did something bad, and they'll smack our hand, and then all of a sudden we'll never get the job. And
no job for you. You go now.
Yeah. Other than LinkedIn, where else should people job hunt?
I'll tell you what, I think LinkedIn is probably the number one place that you should be. The second place is you should be on the website of the companies that you want to work at.
Yes.
I believe those are the two places.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All these other resume aggregators, or I should say job posting aggregators, I think I think there's some problems there. One is a lot of the jobs there are stale. And another one is I think they encourage some really suboptimal habits. So, I mean, it's easy to go apply. You're wasting your time. I mean, I think I showed you what you really need to do in order to get the hiring manager's attention and be perceived as irresistible. Banging on the apply button and walking away is not the way to do it.
Yeah, I remember we were doing a job hunt, and we came across a job at Spotify, and there was already like 860 people who had applied. And I believe most of them are like, oh, cool, Spotify. And they hit the apply button, but they didn't look at the description. They didn't. Oh. All right. Should your LinkedIn profile and resume be identical?
No, they should not be identical. They are doing two different things for you. Now, I told you what a resume is. Its primary purpose is to get you an interview with a human being who is a hiring manager, possibly an internal recruiter, possibly an external recruiter. That's the purpose of a resume. The purpose of your LinkedIn profile is going to vary depending on the season of life that you're in. If you are somebody like me, I'm a business owner, and I'm not looking for a job. So my LinkedIn profile reflects what I am trying to do, which is I'm looking for people to serve. I'm looking for very certain types of customers. And so my LinkedIn profile is tuned for that purpose. If you're trying to change jobs, your LinkedIn profile should be tuned for the purposes of attracting the attention of recruiters. And so that's going to look a little different than a resume. and that's actually a different approach. And there's lots of people out there, that talk about that. I don't have a specific recommendation for somebody. Do you, Jason? Do you know anybody who's really good at optimizing LinkedIn profiles to be recognized by recruiters?
Yeah. So we recently did 2 videos on this. We're doing LinkedIn profile reviews. Whenever our special guest for the day falls through for whatever reasons, COVID or travel or something, Serena and I come on and we just do LinkedIn profile reviews, and then so how to optimize for recruiters. So you can go and take a look at the recordings of that. All right, and just on that topic, like one of the reasons that we at Anti-Siphon Training like want to talk so much about how to get a job is because that's like one of the reasons that people take training. Like you take training to increase your skills and abilities so that you look more attractive for a future employer. And the problem is if you take that training, you get those certs, you do all that stuff, but you don't know how to job hunt, then it's like this thing where you're like, I have all this knowledge, but no one will hire me. It's like, well, no one knows how to hire you because they don't understand your knowledge because you don't know how to describe it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I've met so many people that have struggled with this, with the exact problem that you just described, Jason. And these are some really miserable people because they're trying to make their dream, happen, and they can't figure out how to do it. And I feel awful. That's one of the reasons why I started doing my podcast and why I started. I actually have a paid for course that I do with Jason Dion. And the people who pay for that course are just folks that really appreciate having a lot more hand-holding as they go through the process. Now, if you're not a person who needs a lot of hand-holding, listen to my podcast, because guess what? I give away pretty much everything in the podcast that's in my course. The only difference is you don't get all the hand-holding. Another thing that I do for free is if you go to yourcyberpath.com, you can sign up for what I call a mentor note. And this is something I send out every other week, and it's about 500 words long. And it's just me talking to you saying, hey, did you know that so-and-so has an internship program? Or, hey, as you're out there job hunting, have you thought of this? Or have you thought of that? So it's just me sharing with you, tips and the latest information that I think might help you. And so, again, something for free. And, you could try it out. If you don't like it, the unsubscribe button is right at the bottom. Easy to do.
Yeah, I love the unsubscribe button. The thing about the unsubscribe button is like one of the things at Black Hills is like we have a very low unsubscribe rate, and I'm super proud of that. Because if you see that people aren't unsubscribing, you're like, yes, it's good stuff.
Right. And the email system I use is called ConvertKit. And on the dashboard, it actually has like it has a graph, and it shows me from like 1 star to I think 5 stars or 4 stars, can't remember, the level of engagement, right? And so the shape of that line will determine my mood.
How important is your GitHub account?
It is important if you're applying for a job where GitHub competency is expected, or if you are applying for a job where you're trying to showcase something that you've done. And so in that case, it's important. But be really thoughtful about what I'm going to see if I click through on that link. All right. If you give me a GitHub link and I click through it, what am I going to see when I get there? So just think that through. If you're going for like a staff IT auditor job, unless your GitHub project has something to do with being an IT auditor, I just think you're going to cause confusion by adding that to your resume. Your resume has to be tightly focused on the job. Leave everything extraneous off of it.
Juice Man said no question, but wanted to say I appreciate these types of videos. Found you guys last month. Been learning tons. Thank you. Thank you, Juice Man, and thank you for being here today. We are on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn Live. So if you're watching on one of those different platforms, feel free to hit the old subscribe button if you like it, and then come back for the future. I'm not sure. I'm skipping over a couple questions because I'm not sure how it relates or if we already answered it. And I always like have that. If you don't feel like your question's been answered yet, ask it again, because sometimes I'm like, did we answer that? I think we did. But Victoria says, what's your favorite episode of CyberPath podcast and why?
Oh my gosh, my favorite episode. Thank you for asking. Now I need to go actually find out what my favorite one is, but I can figure that out pretty quickly because all I have to do is go over to my website, because if you go over there and you click on podcast, there's like a little card for every episode. And if you click onto the card, you'll see a transcript, a full transcript of every episode. So pretty handy. And it's actually saving me right now as I try to field a great answer for this question. So I'm going to give you a couple. So episode 66 is called How to Be Irresistible to Hiring Managers. And that's kind of what we're talking about right now. But that episode actually goes and kind of broadens, broadens the topic. So I think that's a really good one. Episode 69 with Nancy Hunter. So Nancy was our guest, and she talked about WESIS and women and minorities in cybersecurity. And I thought she gave some really great advice. Episode 61, I can't forget that one, with our very special guest, John Strand. That was a great episode where he talked about skills-based certifications and how to get a pen test job. So if that's what you want to do, you should check out episode 61. And all you have to do is go yourcyberpath.com/ and then put the episode number. It'll take you right there.
Cool. All right, Kip. So we're going to finish where you and I talked briefly, and then I forgot to ask you about this. So this might be like, no. All right. So we talked about, you're coming back next Tuesday. And since you're coming back next Tuesday, do you still want to make that offer to everybody?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'd love to come back. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Great questions. Yeah, I'll come back. What should we do?
So what I'm thinking next week is, if you're here right now, you're watching the recording, you made it this far in the recording, because I know it's not all of you. I know like there's only like 14% of people who make it to the end of a recorded video on the internet. So if that's you, thank you so much. And for those of you that are still live, thank you. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna email Kip, I believe, a resume and a job description. So it's the job description that you're interested in and your resume the way it is right now. And then Kip, you're gonna take a look at that over the next couple of days, and you'll pick one or two of them next Tuesday to say like, hey, here's what I like and here's what could be better.
Yep. And I will scrub your personal information out of there, so you don't have to worry about that. You'll recognize your resume when you see it. And I'm happy to do that. But here's the deal. If you just send your resume and you do not send me a job that you want, I won't look at it.
Good. Yeah, because Kip, you've done resume reviews and stuff. Like, if you don't show me the job description, all I can say is like, okay, because what did you just talk about? Like, tailor your resume to get noticed. We don't need you to do it like right now, but if you don't send the job description, then we have nothing to compare it to. Kip has nothing to compare it to, and at that point, so Kip, I like that you have that there. Like, no job description, no review. So send a job description, send your resume the way it is right now, and Kip will take a look at it.
And by the way, on the job description, you can send me a URL, and if the job is still live when I click on it, then great. If you really want to make sure that I can do this for you, give me a PDF of the job description, right? Just create a PDF of it so that it's guaranteed to be available to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it for this week. If we didn't get to your question, we will potentially next Tuesday. If you want to take Kip up on his offer, you have until next Tuesday to do so. And then Kip will be back on Tuesday. If you're watching the recording, then it probably already happened. And thank you so much. Hopefully, Kip will be back in the future. Go ahead and check out all of our training opportunities at Anti-Siphon Training. We have lots of them. Some of them are pay what you can. Some of them are it's an inexpensive, high quality training. All right, Kip, any final before we wrap for today?
Speaking of training, I'm gonna do a training later on. and it's gonna help people become irresistible. We're gonna look at all the dimensions of being irresistible, and so it's the course is on the Anti-Siphon training catalog page. You should probably go take a look at it and see if it would make sense.
And here's the thing, like I thought about doing a class like that, but Kip did it and Kip did it great. And I was like, Kip, it's all yours. Like, that's awesome. So if you are looking to become irresistible, check out Kip's class. And hopefully, I'm pretty sure it will cover all the things that you needed to for you to get the job that you're looking for. All right, everybody, that's it. Ryan, kill it with fire. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.